Hey everybody, Texas Stroke here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStar, Mopars.com. Saturday night, 7 p.m. Had a weird day and trying to make the most of it now. So, what we have going on is some pickups from Harbor Freight here within the last couple of weekends, I would say. Everything you see here was bought on sale or closeout or clearance or something crazy. So I'll have everything linked down below. Do I make a dime off that? Absolutely not. I also don't make a dime off of you using code LoneStar to save 20% off of Alpha gloves. But I thought, this would look better as a thumbnail if I had everything here. And then I thought, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to go through this. So the star of the show, of course, is the Icon Ratchet spoiler. It might be the Daytona Jack Stands Pads, I don't know. But spoiler alert, I use timestamps. Again, you can jump around if you want to. We'll just get started over here in the less exciting land. We have some automotive fuses here. We've got standard and ATM minis, and these were on stupid good buys. You've got 60 pieces of each, and I want to say like closeout pricing was maybe $5.99 for both of these, which is pretty legit. Just real quick, we're not going to spend a ton of time on these things, but you basically have 10 pieces of everything here, and you've got 5 amp, 10 amp, 15, 20, 25, and 30. That's going to cover the vast majority of what you're going to need. Maybe you've got like a rogue, smaller fuse in there. Right here in our standard stuff, they did have the glass fuses. I've just got so many of those, and I'm switching everything over to more modern fuses. But right here, again, a little more difficult to see with the glare. 10 pieces, you guessed it, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So identical set contents. I feel like it's a decent buy. I don't know that I've used fuses from Harbor Freight before, but I figured, hey, we'll give it a go. Typically, I've just old Napa CarQuest, which I don't have a CarQuest anymore, and AutoZone stuff, so I assume they're of the same rough quality, right? If not, we got a bunch of them and we can get something better hopefully before they go away. This was a pretty good buy. I think it was like 20 bucks maybe, and I thought, man, that's a great deal. I'm gonna grab that and have it as a backup for the ratchets. And you're thinking like, wait, Hercules doesn't make a 20-volt ratchet. You'd be 100% correct. When I saw the price, I made the mistake of assuming this was a 12-volt battery, and it's not. It's 20-volt. And, that sucks. I'd take it back, but I feel like it was legitimately a good buy, even though it would have been better if it was 12. If you're thinking like, how could you screw that up? It says 20. Look at the size of it. I was rushed. I was in a hurry. It was like, run in there, you got like 5 minutes, make it happen. And that's what happened. So still a good buy. Yes, not what I thought it was, unfortunately. So, and I could have sworn like the tag I was looking at right there was on an end cap. I could have sworn it said, like 2.5 amp hour, 12-volt battery. And I'm like, sweet. And just threw it. And, I don't have a cart, so I just carried it. But yeah, that one's on me. Now, what can we do with this? We could run the blower for a very short time, which I actually do like that blower. I think the fan is 20 volts. So this might become a dedicated battery for the fan. It's not a total lost cause. And then the only other thing I know is like on the impact drivers and stuff, this would just be a very lightweight and maybe a little bit. I typically run, like 4+ amp hour batteries, but in certain instances, you might get by where this is, like half the width, and maybe it gets you in some space. Realistically, I think I'll just use this for the fan, and then, like I said, if something rogue happens. But 2 bars there, I'm going to open this thing up and get it charged. I'm still rocking the Hercules stuff here and at work. My most used is by far the 38 long reach ratchet. I love that thing. I'm waiting on a sale, and I'll pick one up for here. But I haven't had anything bad happen. Are they the most powerful thing? Are they the most dependable thing? They work for me, and that's all that matters, and I'm feeling like I'm getting them for a really good price. Speaking of good prices, I don't know what's going on with these. You've seen me bring in the Pittsburgh ones, right, multiple times, and I think they're usually sub 10 bucks. These were new. Okay, and there were like clearance or closeout price again for $8.99, and I'm like, what is going on there? This has to be the direction that they're going. Of course, they've switched the majority of their line. The you know, high impact colors, the eye candy, if you will, to Daytona jacks and jack stands. I've had them, I like them. I'm really happy with my jack. The jack stands I don't have any complaints with. Yes, I know the previous issues with jack stands might be part of the reason for the rebrand, but the little things I've got have been great. These were stupid low. Now, if you're somebody that doesn't care, that's fine, but let's say that you've restored your car, and whether you painted it, undercoated it, sent it out and had it powder coated, if you've done anything high end to a finish to your frame rail, okay, or even if you just like maybe got a new car for the first time in a long time, or you finally saved up and got your dream car and it's new, you don't want to scratch up the frame rail, right? You're going to do the maintenance. You don't trust the dealer. Maybe you got something exotic and there's not a dealership within 4 hours of you or something. Whatever the case may be, jack stand pads are a legit pickup, especially when they're this cheap and affordable. Essentially, they just insulate it. They kind of grip better, in my opinion, too. Again, safety first, as long as you make sure it's centered up and it's not just like, you know, cantered off to one side. When you lower, it's going to spread and fall type of a thing. You should be home free. This is, again, from Daytona. It's their two-piece set, so you've got a left and right, whatever you want to do. Maybe you're lifting, you know, only the driver's side to change a speedometer gear. I don't know. But you get two of them. The part number is 59432, and they claim that this is for use with their 3-ton stands. I unfortunately don't have 6 or 12-ton stands here, or we would check them out. I'm sure we could tell very quickly if they would fit or not if we had them, but we don't. Spinning it around, and everything I've had in the past has been like cheap AutoZone stuff, and it's fit pretty much everything I have. Some not as well as others, but you know, it rests down, and that's all I need it to do. So these claim to be slip and oil resistant. They will protect, as we mentioned, vehicle paint and undercoat. And the dimensions, if you're curious, they're going to call it 0.9 wide, 3.45 long, and 1 inch deep. They claim that there's a 0.46 center groove depth, so basically a half an inch, basically from the concave point up, and 0.8 minimum thickness on top load contact surface. So what we're going to do here, these are probably a pain in the butt to open. They are. So we'll jump back to that. How about that? Again, timestamps for your convenience. This might be what I was the most excited about. I know, sounds dumb. It's like the second cheapest item here. It's a 10-foot extension cord. It's in orange. That's a win for me. Orange, blue, whatever. Black is fine. But I don't know if you've paid attention. It kind of gets hard to find short extension cords. When I was a kid, I felt like every time you went to the closet to get an extension cord, it was like one of those little stupid, you know, 3-foot brown things with, you know, slotted only, no ground plugs, and you couldn't use it half the time. And then they updated them, and one side had the ground, and then the multiple openings were just for slotted. Yeah, those days are gone. I still use those, actually, like when I crank out that brown and gold space heater in the wintertime out here. That's the extension cords I'm using, is those brown ones, you know, 3 feet at a time. But if you try to come in and get anything like less than 25, 50 feet, like, it's kind of hard to find that anymore. You know, it's almost like this is something that's just upsized, contractor grade. It's like, you want the 25 foot, the 50 foot, or the 100 foot. It's like, well, no, I'd really like, you know, like 6 feet maybe. And that's where this is going to shine. I think I'm going to put this over at the side-by-side US Generals to get me from A to B. It might also go elsewhere. We very realistically might pick these up. I don't know. This is 16 gauge. It's thin. It's flexible. It's new. I haven't had a new extension cord in a while, so that's kind of weird having something pliable, you know. But this was something that I needed. I had planned to order them. I was waiting until I had, you know, decent quantity to get free freight. This was there. It was cheap. I pulled the trigger. It's getting used as soon as this video is over. So what I'm going to do now is set this to the side, and we're going to stand this up. Well, this is, of course, a 3-ton heavy-duty Daytona Jack Stand, and if I raise you up above it, you'll note I've got these. All they've done is hold the Duster K-member a few times, right? So they're in actually really good shape, I would have to say. Usually they get marred up. Now, I'm going to hold this sideways, which kind of makes it really cumbersome for me with a camera and a tripod in front of me. But I'm able to rip this thing off, right? I think this was for use with Pittsburgh jacks, or was it universal? Who knows? But it fit just fine. So that's going to whet your appetite, and I'm going to cut this stuff down, and we're going to then compare the fit. And we're back. That actually all cuts down really easy with the Cutix. Once you've done enough of them, you kind of learn the weak spots, points of attack. Now, this right here is one that we picked up real recently. Again, it's like the Pittsburgh deal. You can kind of see it's been on the stand. It has been used a little bit. Nothing crazy. We haven't had it that long. This is the Daytona. The Daytona is branded Daytona on one side. So that's kind of a sad thing. Inside, not going to be branded at all. Big difference here. You've got these ribs again, grabbing, traction, rear axle, whatever it might be. You can kind of compare the profile. Oh, that's actually a total different dimension there, isn't it? Crazy. So it's a bit more compact on the Daytona specific one. You can also see, whereas this one sort of drops down like a slight stair step and then a valley, if you will, this is just sort of more of a uniform curve. So if you've got a situation where you've used this style for years and like your control arm or your axle or whatever rests in there beautifully, maybe look for those, pick them up while they're still available. If not, and you hate this style, Daytona is here. If you have a situation where this is great, but this sticks out too much and it's always causing interference or something, consider the Daytona. Now, flipping them around, I'd say that they're roughly the same thickness. Now, the Daytona might be slightly stiffer of a sidewall, but I honestly think that's because of just the design change. You'll also see here where my index finger is, and here, they're sort of retaining pads. I don't think this had them. This did actually have them. It's more of like a two-finger design. Again, I've never really truly inspected these because there's no need to compare them. But what I'll do, you'll note we've got our sticker here. It is actually labeled on both sides, but we'll just put it here. And if we get lucky, I really don't want to tear my mat up any more than I have to here. So let's see. I might say, just based off of this, that the Pittsburgh actually fits a lot easier. Now, is that better or not? We don't know yet, but let me stab this on the old-fashioned way. My lord. Alright, well, what did I do? Off camera there, I turned the jack stand upside down and then I kind of just forced it into place. So, if I can not do that at all. Cool. Right there, it fits, it looks good. We'll try it out next time I use this pair of stands. So, I think that's all we need to spin at there. I think they're roughly going to be the same thing for you. You might like the branding. You might like this style, you might like the valley. That thing fell to the floor. And I'm not picking it up because it's hot. So let me know if you know anything about those. If you definitively prefer one over the other. Again, maybe some of you have both of them. You're like, whoa, this Daytona Jack Stand Pad is so much better. Tell people and tell them why. If there's no discernible difference, same thing. The good news is it's not like they went from the Pittsburgh at $9.99 to Daytona at $19.99. It's like the same basic ballpark point. Why they're new and we're on clearance closeout, I've never quite understood that. Usually it means it's going away, but sometimes I've seen it lately with these like brand new items. And it's like, what? They must suck. There must be something catastrophically wrong. And then they stay there. They just go back up to a full price. I'm like, well, it's a good thing I bought that when it was cheap. So, don't know what to tell you there, but again, I don't think I'll have any issues with those based on the stuff I've used in the past. Now, right here, I realized we forgot something very important. We might go grab that too. This is from Icon. This is a quarter drive 90-tooth flex head. Well, that's important. Why? It sets it apart. It's not just a standard ratchet fixed head. This is a flex head. It's not a locking flex head. Currently, Icon does not have a locking flex head. This was a situation, they've got that ratchet coupon where I think it's either 10 or 20. Must be 20% off, or I wouldn't have bought this. 20% off any Icon ratchet or Pittsburgh or anything. But there's a caveat here. This has a temporarily reduced price. So when you combine that with the 20%, it turns out to be a really good deal for you. Your mileage may vary depending on when you go in and what promotions are running and whatnot. But basically, if it wasn't for this being slightly cheaper plus 20%, this would not be here. This is not needed. This is sort of for comparative purposes. And if you're thinking like, man, I thought you were Mr. 3/8 and a half inch drive. I am. Here's the thing. This little guy right here, I had to go to the truck to pull him out. And then this guy, were recent pickups. I nearly released that video today, but I wound up going with the KC Tool Haul, which is ironically almost a year old, so I figured, hey, you better get KC Tool Haul 89 out before DRPD Tool Haul 8. So 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. I think it's 8. But anyway, so this one I just had set up for a little bit. I think I was doing some torque stuff. And then this guy right here with a ridiculously long extension, it's got a nut grip socket. Why? Because I had to take the stereo back out of the assembled truck. Why? Apparently, HP Tuners doesn't work with aftermarket radios installed. What's the issue? What's the point of convergence? I could not tell you. I just know that's really unfortunate to learn after you just completely buttoned up your interior. Totally sucks. No tutorial, no articles, not HP, nothing I had read ever tipped me off to the point that you would have to disconnect an aftermarket stereo beforehand. Now, the good news is this little guy right here with the nut grip makes it really easy. And if you recall, in that video, I was really happy with the ratchet performance of these. I just didn't like the daintiness. That's always been my complaint. Like, using this for a long time, it's like, oh, hello, time to turn some bolts. That bothers me. That is not comfortable. You do get to a point where, yeah, you can have too much handle, and that's not going to be comfortable, and it's going to be cumbersome. This, maybe I made too big of a deal out of it. I don't know. I've used these a little bit since then, and I don't really have any complaints at all with the ratchet functionality. I mean, it's fantastic. Everything you've come to expect from the Koken Z line is there and accounted for. Super, super good stuff. It's just long term, if I was using these like over and over and over again, that would drive me nuts. And I've been consistent with that. This isn't a knock on Koken. I love everything but the handle. On the flip side, is it compact? Is it slim? Can it get in places big fat handles can't? Yes, there's pros and cons. Personal preference though, just crystal clear water, perfect scenario, I would prefer more handle. I'd want it to come up farther, and I would want it to be a little bit more action. Even if we come in here to one of these broken Witte drivers, like something like that, still slim, still compact, but man, that would be nice on that ratchet, wouldn't it? I think so. Now, and like I said, I have at least gotten some seat time with him, so I love everything, but I still feel confident in what I told you. Like, man, I just wish I had a little bit more meat on the bone, if you will, right? So, enter this. This is kind of what I was thinking. Plus, I snagged a 3/8 Roto head. I think they call them swivel heads at Icon. And that thing was disappointing. I've used that quite a bit since too, because I forced myself to, and I'm not happy with it. It just, I do not like the ratchet action of it. I hate to say it, but your green-handled Pittsburghs that are like half the price, if not less. In my case, it's like the red Tecton ones, which is the same thing. That is a smoother ratchet action, and you have a quick release. So, you know, some people prefer that. Some people consider it, you know, you don't prefer it, but you would recognize it should add to the cost of the ratchet, right? You can go top to bottom, cheap to expensive, that you're going to see that across the board. It's unfortunate that I feel like a ratchet that costs considerably more doesn't have as good of a ratchet action when it's supposed to. And, so where I would have liked to have come in and bought a 3/8 Icon, which I realize that'll be a total different gear set than the Roto head, yes, but just coming off the bad experience, my inclination was like, I kind of want to get the 1/2-inch Roto, and I'm like, no, it might suck. It could just be the 3/8. That's kind of my plan, is if I'm in there enough and there's deals, I'll probably pick up the 1/4 or the 1/2-inch Roto and see what I think of it. And yes, I do actually use 1/2-inch Roto, and I love it. It's not for everybody. Some people hate those things. Everyone else loves them. Some people just, yeah, have never tried one. But I do actually like Roto head ratchets. Now, this guy right here, I thought, you know what? Let's just drop down to 1/4, do something cheap, and I'll kind of have it to compare to these two. So that's what I was doing. I wish they had a locking iteration that would have really differentiated these two. But right here, I love what Icon does for stuff like this. And I would say the same thing. Stavilla, Hosette, Snap-on, Matco, whoever, like if they'd package like this, I'd be a happy man. It tells you some important things. Your head, right here, 7/16. Overall length, it's going to be 7 inches long. Again, just simple things, but it's easy to understand, simple. In this case, your end to end here on this pear-shaped head is going to be 13/16. If we flip it around for their selling points, 90 tooth. Let's run with that. Okay, 90 tooth gear to gear mechanism produces a tight 4-degree arc swing for easy work in small places. Now, arc swing, yes. Back drag remains to be seen. That's where I don't know of many ratchets that are going to beat Koken in that department, and that's a huge thing, especially when it's like odd, right? If you can't get a nut driver in there, you can't get your fingers in type of a thing, or it's a firewall, what have you. That is really where Koken or anyone with a similar gear set design shines, because even if you could give me 36 teeth from Koken, which I've used, like the way they have it set up, it's like, oh, there's slight resistance, and boom, we're tightening. Whereas stuff like this, you need to have the tightest, 90 teeth, 80 teeth, 100 teeth, whatever 120 they want to do. If you come in there and it doesn't have the back drag, you're going to be spinning the ratchet, but it's not doing anything to the fastener. It's super annoying, cumbersome, and makes these well worth the price. Although I still think, that was my other gripe here, I didn't like the daintiness. I'm going to stick with that term. And I felt like they were a little high. 3/8 and half, they don't seem like a bad deal to me. Quarter, it's like, yeah, really? Yeah. And like I said, they are basically at that time of purchase for me in Snap-on territory. Well, that's not where Koken had been previously, so it's strange stuff. Coming back to the Icon, polished chrome finish offers superior corrosion resistance and easily wipes clean. Now they're talking here, not the handle necessarily. Comfort grip design for reduced hand fatigue and a non-slip grip. Coming over here, more specs on the business end. Precision machine gears provide smooth ratcheting action and withstand heavy torque. Don't know that I would say that on quarter, but we'll roll with it. Low profile, which, to their credit, 7/16. Not like you got some hunk coming through there, right? So 180-degree flex head allows access to the most difficult to reach fasteners. Of course, Icon, designed in America, made in Taiwan, does have the lifetime warranty. Now, I do like how simple it is. Like their sockets, woo. Get your number 1 Phillips ready, because you're going to go through some stuff getting that thing taken apart. I'll do this with you here. I'm going to grab this, and I will tell you, I've already had this out. Why? I had to know if it sucked. I wanted to, if this thing was as clunky as that 3/8 Roto, it was going back in the store, and I had every intention of picking up a 1/2-inch Roto and seeing. That's something I want to hit on that I don't know if I covered last time. I could come in there blind, never having used any of the Roto ratchets, and I can go to Pittsburgh and I can turn it. And I can be like, oh yeah, that's not bad, but I bet this is better. This is sealed up in a box, and I can't play with it, right? If I could have played with that 3/8 Roto head, I would have done 2 things. Number 1, I would have gone to every other 3/8 Icon Roto head and turned them and see if, like, this is an anomaly, or they all suck. And I say suck, they're functional. It's just not where it should be based on the specs, right? So I could then turn the Icon and turn the Pittsburgh, and I would say, geez, I think I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh. It's way cheaper. In the event of the Icon, even this one, whether it's a comfort grip, whether it's a chrome handle, whether it's quarter, 3/8, half, fixed, flex, what have you, they are boxed up. Now, that makes for a great presentation when you open it, but you can't fiddle around with it. I get it. People steal things. It makes sense to me. But it would be nice if there was, like, somewhere, even if it was like the trains. You remember Toys R Us, like the train stations? They'd have a little deal, and the kids could put their hand, but they couldn't, like, take things right, at least easily. Something like that. Maybe like talk to a manager and get to go in the back and be like, oh yeah, I do like that flex. Something has got to change, because you need to know. And so many times with like the low tier stuff, you can come in and like that little Roto head Pittsburgh that I'm telling you was a better buy than the 3/8 Icon. You might have a dud. You might have a lemon there. And it's important, if there's 7 ratchets, you go through all 7 of them and find the best one, right? Hopefully they're all identical and you can't tell a difference. Maybe you find a handle that's cleaner. Maybe you find, like one handle was installed with the words offset and it drives you crazy, and you're like, oh, Ratchet 2 is good. And, the thing is, though, like for Icon, and to be compared and touted by Harbor Freight to compare to professional grade tools, I want to be able to experience this thing, right? Now, buying blindly offline, you can't do that, with anyone else. But in person, if you were on the Snap-on truck, you could go. And if the guy had it, maybe he doesn't have your color, but he's going to have something, quarter drive flex head, that you can pick up and be like, yeah, I do like that. Or, man, that's not at all what I expected. No thanks. Icon is kind of like a box of mystery. What's going to be inside? Greatness or trash? You don't know until you have it home. So I will say that's not a huge issue. The people at Harbor Freight, I'm pretty familiar with all the stores I go into. If I tell them, hey, this thing didn't perform well, they can look at the anvil and be like, oh, it looks like you barely used it. I'm like, yeah, it's because it sucked. And I either get to swap it out or I've got cash to put towards something else type of a deal. So with this one, I will tell you, I would not really consider this much of like a comfort grip. It's more of like a 2-component. The best thing if you're into the German tools, if you've got Knipex 2-component, the red and blue Superman handles, it's almost that kind of a feel. This is kind of a hard material. This is not soft at all. Okay, I want to get that covered right off the bat now. They did try to idiot proof this, and what I mean by that, they've got on and off. That's still really the only consistent complaint with Koken. There'll be some people that'll complain about the handle like me, but the other thing is just like, well, this is backwards. What does that mean in Koken? If we wanted to tighten or go on, as they say, it would be over here. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, except with ratchets, except with Koken. You know, do what you will with that. But I will tell you, the chrome, actually, again, I'm not a huge chrome guy, but it does look decent. Kudos there. There you can see the anvil. We've got the ball detents. This lever it's not egregiously tall, so it's going to be easy to articulate. It's not incredibly stiff. It's not flopping side to side. We've had some ratchets that do that, like the VHA. I mean, you can look at it, and I can almost through telekinesis move it. Or just shaking it, you know, whichever way. But this one is actually, I'd say, acceptable. You know, it's not the best, not the worst, and for the price point, we're doing okay. You can see there, you can tighten that back down if you got a Torx bit. And here's what we want to see. What does that say? Does that say 72 tooth? 90 tooth, there we go. Okay, I double checked that. I was going to say. From a distance through the camera, it looked like 90. Now, here's what you need to hear. I have zero issues with this one. Like I said, I had this opened up as soon as I had left the store, and I was like, this better not suck. This does not suck. It's the Roto head so far. I've got two Icon ratchets, 3/8 Roto and this 1/4 Flex. This one's fine. I have zero issues. This is kind of how I expected the Roto head to be. And the Roto head just, I don't know. You know, it's kind of like Stavilla, 1/4 and 3/8, and then you jump to half. It's like a total different mechanism the way it feels. Koken, to their credit, consistent across. I don't have a 1/2 inch yet from Koken, but 1/4 and 3/8, I haven't had any issues with anything. Hopefully their half is the same. You can kind of see, again, your 4.5 degrees there, so if I do this, you know, over and over again, you see that ball go around in the prescribed number of times. But Flex head, again, it is a true 180 down. It is a true 180 up. So I'm quite content with the ratchet action. Again, especially, I think I probably out the door for sub $30 on this, which, again, lifetime warranty. Flex head, that's a pretty good deal in my opinion. So imagine, if you will, we're tightening, backing off, tightening, backing off, tightening. You get the idea, right? This, however, index finger is what's important. If I come down to my thumb, I'm almost, in fact, I can stretch out and get to the head right here, the tongue, if you will, where the ratchet head mates with the handle. And that's going down to the thumb. Pay attention, where is this handle terminating? Let's just say right there, the seam on my gloves. If I come in and I take this guy, and I go back, do you see what's happening here? Okay, it's roughly the same thing. Now my finger's basically right there with it, you know, at the joint. This is considerably smaller, which again, this is a Zeal ratchet. That's part of the design and intention. But here's the deal, where the Harbor Freight handle kept going to this seam, you can see this one ends basically before you get to the knuckles, right? You've got fold 1 and fold 2, and that's kind of where that handle is. That's kind of my complaint there. So when I hold this up for you, make the comparison very obvious, we're just going to go end to end here. And again, check it out. Very similar termination points. Man, that's hard to hold with my thumb. My apologies. I think has been acting up here recently. I don't know if that means it's getting better or it's getting worse, or it's like, man, why did nobody do anything to help me? No clue. But right there, very similar overall lengths. Again, Icon touted how small and compact their head was. Okay, welcome to Dwarfville. Let me grab this one. This is the exact same thing. That's the extended reach, right? So this is the regular, if you will. If I put this on top of the Icon, you're gonna see Icon material on the side, around the top. It's considerably smaller. These Kokens, outside of my complaint of like, oh, I'd prefer a bigger handle, I'd prefer more material, ignoring the fact of how superior the ratchet mechanism is, especially with the back drag versus others, it's simply a situation where they're just stupid good. Right here, again, Icon did a really good job making that a compact head, but versus the Koken, it looks massive, right? Now, I could go grab a Craftsman raise pan, right? Whoa, look at Icon. You know, so this is kind of like top competition here. Now, I can tell you, I love these, right? Again, I've used this one a little bit. I've used the long one a ton. Typically, the long iteration of the Koken flex heads is what I wind up using. I could build a hybrid out of these and be a very happy quarter drive guy for the little time that I do use quarter drive. How would I do that, you ask? This handle would go on that ratchet. Now, I would prefer it not to be this color and, you know, have Icon, but, you know, if we could just take that black Koken grip, you know, which is typically fine, it's decent grip. If we could just extend that and put a little bit of a bulb to it like you see here. You see how you got a fat point, the knob, you ratchet down, you got a Coke bottle curve, and you come up. If we could combine this handle with this ratchet, I'd be pretty happy with that, right? Now, that said, that is not to take away from this Icon ratchet, because this seems like it's going to be a pretty good little ratchet. So all I can do is start using it, and that's exactly what I plan to do. Now, here, real quick, let's rip this off. This is kind of like a socket test fit. I know it's a bit holder, but it'll just work with me. I'll pay attention to this one. You can hear and feel the difference, but again, I don't want that to detract away from this being a bargain buy for the Icon, because I do personally think it's a pretty legit ratchet after playing with it now. Time will tell. We have to use this thing if we go down and we tighten a 7/16 back end of a battery terminal and this thing splits the anvil off. I'm going to tell you it's a piece of trash and to stay away. Initial bench impression, this is actually a decent ratchet, unlike the 3/8 Roto, which was very disappointing. I didn't expect much from this. I didn't really expect much from that, but I thought, oh, hey, 90 teeth Roto head, this should be a step up. And it's like a step down. This one, I have no qualms with this little guy, so quite happy. And I will tell you, I like this better. I would still do things slightly different, but at least, you know, when I like grip it, we're there. Now, granted, a lot of times, something like this, I'm up here using the head anyway. But in the event that I need to leverage, maybe there's a super tight junction box bolt or something, you got decent flex head action. Again, it's not floppy, so we can always get it back to this point or make it tighter if that's your preference. This is a pretty legit little pickup in my opinion. Again, especially for the price. Now, what I want to know from you, if you have the Icon ratchets, and I know many of you do, are they all like this? Do you notice anything? If you went out and you bought 1/4, 3/8, and half, and you spec'd them out, you know, like you got a standard flex head, a long fixed head, are the mechanisms consistent? That is a very big deal to me, and I'm talking about across all three drive sizes. Have you noticed your quarter stuff is elite? You love it. Roto head, fixed, flex. Is it the same action? Then when you step to 3/8, is it consistently clunky across the board? Is it just the Roto heads where we have this issue? And it could be, if you've got the 3/8 Roto, do you notice a downturn in performance comparatively to the rest of your Icon stuff? Or do I just have a lemon? Or is it a deal where you're going to come in and say, hey, 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch Rotos are legit, 3/8 has something wrong? I don't know, again, because I don't have the stuff here to test and compare. I can tell you right here, if I had to pick one of these three ratchets, I'm going to go with this one, despite the handle complaints. If you're rolling on a budget, funds are tight, you got a wife and kids, what have you, which problems I don't have to deal with. This is a pretty legit, again, wait for a sale, And this is a pretty solid pickup in my opinion. So it's more comfortable, at least by my standards. Some of you might prefer that over this. It's all personal preference on that front. In terms of the performance side, it's going to be I don't have anything. I'll just straight up be honest with you. I don't think I have anything that hits the check marks with the back drag. That's like Koken number one. There's challengers, but they're not super close, right? For the money coming out the door for like 25 to 29 bucks, this is not a bad pickup, right? And when you consider how high of a price is on these Koken quarter drives, you could walk out with this, with a fixed head that was longer, with the Roto head, and probably an SAE and metric socket set, and still have a few bucks for like Wiener Schnitzel versus buying that. And that's a shame. I kind of thought those would fall into like a... To be fair, their fixed ones are kind of where I thought these would be price-wise. I know there's more that goes into them. There's more parts, components, the machining, prices on everything are crazy, and even just raw materials now. But that took me by surprise, and it's just, I was worried, because I knew, I'm like, ooh, I don't really like termination points on these handles. And then I'm like, a quarter's going to be smaller. It was. But it's a fantastic ratchet outside of the personal preference stuff. So, again, if I could hybridize these and put like a slightly bigger handle like this, which again, pay attention here, just to show you how accurately close we were. If we could take this Witte Pro Top handle, okay, and put it on the Koken, do I have the heart to tear up a Koken ratchet? I don't know if I do, but I might. If I use that thing and I'm like, man, this would be perfect if it had a little bit better of a handle. Which, and again, I say that, it's all subjective. Maybe it's something we do. Who knows? But right here, black cloth. Did we get a black one? I felt like it was white with the Roto. I'll have to pay attention to that. So, other thing I want to know from you Icon people, do you A, use the towel, and B, do you leave them in this tray? That's really what I want to know. If you recall, on the 3H Roto, we came in and you're able to pry this out. There's glue that holds it, and you can get this tag off so you don't just have to snip it weirdly. And I keep those for plastic welding. I've gotten really bad about you should see the trash I've kept, and just in case I need to weld it. It's insane. Got a problem. But yeah, I'm pretty content with this guy. I think it's going to be a decent ratchet for us. Again, time will tell, and obviously usage, real world usage, not me spinning it, with an imaginary scenario here. But if I get that out there and we shear the anvil off, you will know about it. If I get it out there and it's just a functional ratchet that's pretty good, you'll eventually know about it. So stay tuned for follow-ups at some point in the future. With that said, that's what we did. We got some cheap fuses on closeout. We got a 10-foot cord, which was a really good buy as well. We got some Daytona Jack Stand Pads and a battery that I thought was a 12-volt. So, hey, kind of a win, kind of a loss, but it worked out okay. And we saved a considerable chunk of money versus standard MSRP, even though it's Harbor Freight. So, with that said, that wraps up this tool haul. Again, I would typically have done this ratchet standalone, but I thought, there's really not any super excitement here going on, so I thought we'll just combine it. And once again, timestamps, they're your friends. I put them there for your convenience. And with that said, you know the drill. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all three at LoneStar Mopars. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned a little something. If you got any insights, any comments, any further experience, whatever you think might add to the discussion, feel free to leave that down below. That's kind of the goal here. Basically, if some guy's like, man, those Kokens are expensive, and that ratchet from Icon's a really good price, convince him. Say, man, dude, save your money, get all the stuff he listed off with the Icon. Or say, I had that Icon and it was good for 3 months and then I broke it. The gears got bad and then I just sheared the anvil off, and I wasn't even doing anything crazy. It didn't involve a cheater bar. It just sucked. Tell people. Again, I can't do that yet because I haven't used it. So if you've got insights, whether this is great and a bargain or terrible, tell people, please. So with that said, hope you enjoyed. If so, leave a like. If you subscribe, you jump your Charger across the creek, you ring the bell, you got your Koken and your Icon head to head, and you try to tear them up with a square drive extension test, YouTube just might notify you that we got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, though, hope you enjoyed. Hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend. And most importantly, I hope I catch you back here for more action from the shop. All right, bonus action for the fans of the battery light. It's flashing. It was on 2 bars before we shut down. But, I thought, you know, it would be remiss if we didn't come in here and grab the roto head for people. So what is the roto head currently doing? It was over at the truck, going through the front bumper, going to a grill guard bracket. We've got a Capri 13mm with a 12-inch extension. And here she is. You can probably tell she's been used a little bit since you last saw her. But check this out. Do you hear the clunk in there? It's just like it's a total different gear set, and it's kind of skippy, and I do not like it. That one is far superior. Is the quarter roto and the half-inch roto different than the 3/8 roto? Let me know. That I'd consider to be a really good pickup. This, I wanted to like it, but it's not a great ratchet mechanism. So, also this extension kind of bothers me. I thought this was a wobble fix. It's apparently just wobble only. Sorry, camera, but that's a minor thing there. But yeah, it's not terrible wobble action. It's just I kept trying to seat it, and I'm like, what's the deal? I guess I've gotten too used to the Koken stuff. So, anyway, that's that. I know the fan's on. I don't care. It's hot back here, and we slaved away making videos. So, with that said, let me know on those ratchets, and I'll catch you back here for more from the shop.